This real side experience would begin in my former UK house recreated. The real awareness that we each actually are, as a simulator is selected, so to say, so the overall consciousness, which effectively is the program that affects the simulator as it stands, the moment of its selection, is agreed to and taken on. The overall simulator stadium, just like a computer game we have downloaded to our computers, now is available, and each game player decides what they will create as effective experience within the confines of the simulator game. Each real awareness, which as the free will utilizing secondary personal self comes to the fore, becomes more so personal self orchestrated life choices and experience through the thrill-seeking intense set. And in addition to the overall consciousness-affecting simulator program taken on, each individualized personal self builds their own consciousness in addition, through the ideas created or those agreed to as created by others. And as we go through the lifetimes, proceeding through a creation as we each will, every idea creation and agreement will be retained as the consciousness. And as we each amass then millions of lifetimes of experience, we have rather the complexity of a convoluted consciousness we carry with us. For regardless of how each lifetime around we have a new body form, a new memory vehicle devoid of current lifetime experiences, until we begin to create and make the new agreements we will, all prior lifetimes of experiential idea agreements and creations will be stored then in the subconscious, that which we then are unconscious of. But until the process of awareness is taken on, a real awareness decision coupled with the necessity of the personal self aligning its intent also with this real purpose of his recognition, the individual will be immersed utterly in the consciousness they have created. They will be in a complete agreement with the entirety of it, an agreement then with every idea, agreement and attachment it comprises of. And as the individual sets an intent with the ears, that to stand real as the beings of isness, everything, reality, light, we all actually are, this requires we release that which holds us to a position other than our real awareness, isness, true being selves. So with intent set with the ears, as we always are the intents that we establish and maintain, so will be a process where the consciousness in its idea entirety is effaced and systematically let go of, as even a single idea held to will keep you in creation, as creation is the only position an individualized piece, part or fragment of the everything isness can be isolated and experienced from. On the real side, symbolically, our consciousness is represented by our recreated physical level homes, that although technically my physical level home has changed, I live now in Mexico, it seems my former UK house still is retained as the consciousness represented, and a valuable representation it can afford, as we can be apprised of all the beings we have agreements and attachments with. For as the consciousness holds to all ideas we have ever created and agreed with, these would include the ideas that are the body forms and the consciousnesses that effect them, of all beings in creation we ever have had association with. As for every simulated form and feature we engage with that claims our focus, attention, we secure agreement with the idea that effects it. We forge then constantly tap lines, some temporary, with the ideas we may utilize momentarily, some permanent as we retain agreement with them. But as I said, as we go through a creation with a complete agreement with the consciousness, where we are personal self immersed only, then all ideas that effect as they might are filed and clung to as an automatic process, that as lifetimes go by, the ideas, as I said, we are unconscious of, but regardless, we remain the constant effect of our consciousness construct. As agreement must be there with the ideas of others, that simulated associative interaction be possible, you can't have the effect, the individual, without the cause, the idea of them. Ultimately, every being we ever associated with can then feature in our experiences potentially at any given moment. Perhaps not so readily on the physical, given geographical limitations, but on the real side, as we are not bound to the same physical level restrictions, so at any moment can any being we ever created agreement with since we first entered the simulators manifest in our experiences. The process of consciousness facing and releasing moves us into a position where we are no longer the unconscious effect of the consciousness of other beings' infringement into our experiences. We more so can consciously decide who we will allow into our presence, and the recreated consciousness representing homes will reveal then those we have conscious agreements with, revealed as the beings present on the ground floors of the house, and those we are unconscious or unaware as having agreements in relation to, beings operating on the upper floor, the other dimensional aspects of a creation. And indeed, all intent, agreement, all ideas begin on the real side, then as they filter through to the physical in whatever form they might, so we may see this represented as the simulated effect of the idea, the body form, etc., transitioning from the top floor to the ground floor. As we go about our releasing of the consciousness of ideas, including the idea agreements and attachments we have with others, we also will be presenting the opportunity of the is, the new you connection, and is pertaining references, etc. We will be interjecting ourselves into the ideas that are creation, the ideas that are others, and their respective creational positioning, and inadvertently will we be picking up all manner of agreements as we go about it. For as I said, where we place attention and focus, even if our intent is sincere overall, with the is recognizing real purpose, we will be trawling additional idea agreements as we proceed, as though we are trailing a huge net with us as we operate multi-dimensionally, and trawling then all manner of unforeseen ideas within it. like mud sticking to our boots as we delve through the swamp that is creation. But of course, the mud will not stick, as for those on their awareness processes, we are endeavouring to stand ever more indifferent to the consciousness and all ideas in creation, and even as we take on certain ideas, certain karma effect fallouts, unless we choose to cling to the ideas, which we wouldn't if we have our intent overall with the years, so that which we experience, the karma and effects we take on, the ideas we have trod, will be only temporary experiential incursions. Nevertheless, the real side will reveal these momentary trod agreements and ideas, and as they may be the ideas that are other beings and body types, so we may have them revealed as being present within our recreated consciousness representing houses, if indeed it is necessary that such be revealed. If, say, the body type has a certain ill-intended objective and inclination in relation to ourselves, that they now can express and impact us with through the door we have opened for them. And so there I would be in my house recreated, and present in addition would be the effects of certain ideas I had trod inadvertently. The ideas, the agreements, would facilitate the simulated presence then of a monstrous in size and multicoloured spider-like creatures. Impressions revealed that these were not simply body forms prior to the creation of the secondary personal self, as most earth-bound spiders would be, where they are animated directly by the real awareness-isness, and so their actions making sense with life. But instead, these were spider forms where the secondary self had been established, and indeed, as impressions further revealed, these were in fact entities of some kind. An entity would be a broad term for a particular expression of a consciousness, one that would be especially twisted and of a design where the choices, intents and proclivities that formulated its construct are of a destructive and restricting of others' nature. As a body form always reflects a consciousness, a construct design, so such a consciousness will give rise to monstrous in appearance body types, and among these will be the demons, reptilians, and entities. The entities will have various nightmarish forms, but among them, and that seem fairly common, are body types resembling spiders, but generally grossly oversized and twisted in design. So whatever I had been doing, so had the ideas that were the consciousness-affected body forms of these entities latched on, and even though temporary, still then these monster entity spider creatures could take advantage of the opportunity afforded to them and operate as their personal consciousness design dictates, to be as disruptive and damaging as possible. As always is the case, that any body type can enter our experience through provided open door agreement is one thing, that they can actually harm us is also agreement dependent. And if I lack agreements where they can cause harm, despite their best efforts, they will be unable. In this case here, either agreements permitting their ability to harm me were actually present, as yet perhaps unfaced and unreleased agreements, or that it was considered prudent that I don't engage with these entities when they did decide to attack me on the real side, perhaps the effect of fallout for doing so would be adversely impacting of my physical level body form, even if I were able to nullify their efforts. Either way, my brother would suddenly be present, but impressions revealed he was a real guide assuming this outer form, and he made the choice to step in a protective capacity, that the entity spider monsters would not adversely impact me. As all effects we experience are the ideas we agree with and take on, if the ideas are to effect manifest as adversely impacting, the guides can in actuality take on and handle the ideas themselves if they choose, as though transferring a corrupted virus file from our computer to their own, and then dissolving it quickly, as though they had better computer virus handling software as an analogy. From the simulated perspective, it may visually present itself as the guides deciding to take hits on our behalf, and this was the case here, where the guide in my brother's form would step forward and scoop up all the entity spiders in his arms before they would even begin to zero in on my position, and instead of biting and injecting me with what impressions revealed would have translated as being physical level body impacting and debilitating poisons, they instead would envenom the guide, who of course would efficiently work off the effects, dissolving the karma he had taken from me, and the entity spiders then would as though burst in his arms. For we always are the experience of our life choices and actions. We are the effects of ourselves, and although we walk into our effects more slowly on the physical, the real side is instantaneous, and here then the spider entities would be subjected to their own rebounded abrasiveness, instant karma, expressing in this way of they bursting in the guide's restraining embrace. The scene would switch, and just as the house can represent the consciousness of an individual, so larger buildings can represent more the collective consciousnesses of all beings we may find within them. A collective can be formulated through shared ideas or intents, ideas that groups of beings hold to that are the same. And so we may have general idea collectives, such as religions, for example. Every being will have a unique consciousness, but where certain ideas correspond with those as agreed to by others, so every individual will be interconnected with many collectives according to the agreements they have and in relation to others. Many interlaced and interlocking consciousness collective circles. And when seeking an individual on the real side, for whatever purpose we may have for doing so, for me, on occasion, this will express as my entering a large shopping mall, teeming with individuals, revealing that all those contained within and the individual I seek all hold to a certain idea agreement or intent which renders them as a particular consciousness collective, as represented through the shopping mall they are operating within. I was seeking a particular individual that it was essential that I make contact with, as impressions revealed. The individual was in actuality a former dark force ill-intended character, but recently, as indeed many of the dark forces are doing currently, is that he had decided to step up, become more aware, and afford assistance for DUANE and the guides with their various life and awareness benefiting projects. And through the former position he had established, he had many connections throughout the dark force control systems. He certainly could be very instrumental in encouraging other dark force characters to step up through the influence he still would be able to wield. Therein lies the prudence in at least attempting to approach such beings, and especially if they are indeed agreeable to step up and assist. Through the dark force orientated consciousness he had constructed, he would have much by way of agreement and attachment with the various elements and expressions that are the simulator controllers. Open doors then where he could engage with them on the real side. Of course, he would then be undergoing his own process of releasing agreements, preventing all the beings his consciousness allows as open doors for them to simply walk into his experiences and exact the harm and possible destruction of his body form that the parameters of the agreements allow. Better to be in positions where one can consciously decide as to who can enter our experiential presence. But for now, so he will have to expect much by way of dark force infringement into his simulated affairs, until his awareness process progresses, and this particular consciousness collective representing a shopping mall was in relation to certain as yet unreleased ideas shared by all those present, and were those of an ill-intended persuasion. And as I waded through the shopping mall individuals, all with various levels of dark force affiliation, or they wouldn't have been present, so I would be invariably attacked by a number of them. I wasn't effecting any disguise for myself, being rather blatant and simply marching through the mall, that although my objective maybe wasn't realized, my not being associated with the dark forces was recognized, and my trespassing into their ill-intended midst was not especially welcomed. Again, agreements lacking in regards to all my assailants, that they could actually harm me, expressed as their inability to do so. I wouldn't even retaliate in any form or fashion, simply walk through them as they flailed and struck at me with complete ineffectiveness. I would then find what I was looking for seemingly, as my attackers fell away and relented, for there seemed to be an extension of this shopping mall that was as though another mini-collective representing a consciousness, that all those within it harboured certain idea agreements that those in the shopping mall did not, that segregated the two consciousness collectives. But both collectives still were interconnected by virtue of certain ideas that bound them also. The buildings, although the individuals they contained were in isolation of each other overwhelmingly, the buildings still were joined, and the additional connected building would have stationed at the entrance a group of sentry-like guards, in protection of the others that were within. Interestingly, every body type within this building were human and also black-skinned, and indeed the key individual I was to engage with was black also, and none other than the former TV star Bill Crosby. for it seems that regardless of his fame and stardom coming in the form as a television celebrity, he was in actuality very well connected within the Dark Force controller networks. This expressed here with the vast numbers of black humans he was in association with, who also had a certain positioning within the Dark Force hierarchies of control. Impressions suggesting he also had a backup from Dark Force body forms that were other dimensional, body types other than just humans, through whichever means he had secured such a position. For it is so, you can't break into the top tiers of any human institution, including TV and media, unless you operate within the Dark Force controlling structures, and many celebrities, Hollywood stars, politicians, may have a greater positioning within the Dark Force control hierarchies than their chosen public domain activities and careers would suggest. As I said, Bill Crosby was stepping up and was as though bringing vast numbers of the Dark Forces who he was associated with him, that despite what took place with Bill Crosby, his exposure for the crimes he was committed and defamed for, this was a new moment, and as I said, impressions suggested that through the influence he could wield, through his connections, he was now presenting as another key asset in whatever way this might be, in regards to our projects. For indeed, the building he and his cohorts were in was completely decorated in the theme of Halloween, that although we might extend interpretation for how this literally presented itself as, it was more so a hint in regards to what Bill Crosby may be able to assist in regards with. For recently, Jeremy shared a real side experience where revealed to him was Rebazar standing beside a growing pumpkin, symbolizing physical level projects becoming so, and suggesting that around the date of Halloween, such may come into fruition, and that the Halloween theme was again present in the building that represented the collective consciousness of Bill and all the other black human-based body forms, that through his influence and agreement he may in some shape or form be as an assist where the projects are concerned. He may grease a few wheels and assist in the facilitating of our physical level endeavours becoming physical level actualized. And although I never would actually be shown my engaging with him, impressions revealed this would be so, that this afforded him the confidence to move forward and step up in this capacity, that maybe what he is able to achieve may go unrealized or unnoticed, but as I said, he was well connected throughout human society, was intending to assist, and certainly would be able to pull in favours, pull a few strings, etc.
Again, terrific, Kevin. Yes, as this being exposed and seeing this, etc. And there's a lot more going on also. You know, there's so many people having this experience, and you know, like Bill, and he was caught at what he did, and you know, objectively, there's a part of him that sees all this, and again, getting it into the physical, that's the toughie, but you start somewhere, just like all of us have met here, and we're doing what we're doing, and little at a time people show up, because that personal self is hard to deal with, really, really very hard. But how fun, yes, trick or treat, we'll see. So that's kind of the idea. Not only is it Halloween, but the idea is trick or treat. Let's see what takes place here, because we're dealing with the world tricksters. And so we can get some treats from this while we're here doing whatever. So we'll see what happens. But another movie, Netflix movie, Kevin, that's terrific. Thank you so much. I love hearing these. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.